This week I've been thinking about beliefs and propositions, and whether we should actually believe in anything at all. Let's get straight to the point. Of course, when it comes to a priori mathematical or logical truths, it's pretty self-evident. 1 + 1 = 2, and that is true no matter what. Of course, it's conceivable to think of a reality where that is not true, but well, you're going to have to do a lot of mental gymnastics to make it untrue. Then there are scientific truths. Truths that are approached towards by the inductive method and mathematics and all that good stuff. These truths are falsifiable, which means that they are valid as long as someone else manages to disprove these truths. Then there are obviously the pragmatic truths. I know that there's a banana on the table, and because I know that, I can use this as an opportunity to enjoy a delicious fruit. There's no reason for me to doubt the location or the existence of the banana unless there's something going on with my brain. These are truths that are pretty much harmless. And not just harmless, but they are good to believe in. When you believe in these truths, you live adaptively. When you know that 1 = 1, when you know, well, that too, but when you know that 1 + 1 = 2, you know that when you're buying food for you and your partner, you're going to buy 2 pieces. 1 for me, 1 for them. 1 + 1 = 2. Very adaptive behavior, to say the least. The thing is that when these propositions become identified, when you start identifying with particular propositions and beliefs, there lies a dangerous risk. In the sense that if you believe in a truth, or if you believe in a proposition, and you deeply identify with it, this can lead to suffering. If you don't understand, and if you don't understand what I mean by this, and if this confuses you, please keep watching, because this is going to get interesting. I've just listed 3 types of propositions that are relatively harmless. Not just harmless, but adaptive. We're going to slowly move towards propositions that the more you identify with them, the more suffering they can cause. The next type of proposition is phenomenological. For example, I see blue. You see me. I feel pain. I feel happiness. I feel whatever. Propositions that are related to my current experience. Now, why does this pose a slight risk? Why is this first on the list? This is because when you identify with, let's say, the pain that you experience, you're going to be more involved in it. When you identify with the truth that there is pain arising, when you hold tightly to the belief that note the way that I say this, I am in pain. The more in pain, the more you believe in that, the more in pain you are. Or the other way around. This seems a bit strange at first, but if you, let's say that the next time you have pain in your body, or if you happen to have pain in your body right now, when you disidentify with it, when you start saying, well, tell you what, the pain is there, it's a phenomenon, but I am the one that's experiencing it, but there's some sort of difference between me and that pain. There's some sort of distance, and you are able to take a distance from that. Perhaps the diagnosis that you are in pain is not entirely true. Maybe it's true that pain is arising in your body. Maybe that is true. But maybe the proposition that I am in pain is a false diagnosis. The next type of proposition is preferential. Now, this could be, for example, that I like peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. I just ate one. It was delicious. I love it. The problem is, when you deeply identify with this belief that I like peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, what happens when you're not going to get your peanut butter and jelly sandwich? What happens when instead of someone makes you a peanut butter sandwich, but instead of putting on jelly, they put on, let's say, what could you put on a let's say that they don't put jelly at all. My God. You that identifies with, you that believes in the proposition that I like peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, what happens when there is no jelly? Seriously, what happens when there is no, like, are you gonna go like, thanks, I'm gonna eat this just as happy as if I would be eating it with jelly? Or would you go, what the fuck are you doing? Where is my jelly? The first one probably is a better option, but you now imagine what would happen if you loosen that proposition. You would, in fact, I would like to argue that you would stop caring whether or not you get your sandwich with the jelly or not. Sure, the preference might exist. You might get more pleasure when there is jelly on the sandwich. But when you don't think about it propositionally, what happens? I don't know. Try this. See what happens. I feel like there's something here. Next proposition is metaphysical proposition. This is lower, much lower on the list because, well, a lot of reasons. I'll tell you, there's a lot of reasons why this is so low on the list. There are two more coming after it, but this one is an important one. First of all, we cannot know the truth of a metaphysical proposition. That just comes naturally with metaphysics. It is beyond physics. It is beyond our observation. And if we attach ourselves to a proposition, let's say that reality is consciousness or reality is pure matter. If you base your entire worldview on one of these things, what happens? The thing is, metaphysics is the thing that sits beneath all of philosophy. And when your ground for your worldview and philosophy is tight and not loose. Let's say that you say that you believe in the proposition that everything is consciousness, and you base the belief that everything is one, and the world, the universe is compassionate and it's safe, and it's everything works out and everything has meaning. Gosh, what happens when someone says to you, well, you're wrong? What happens? Your entire worldview collapses. The belief that the universe has meaning disappears if you base meaning on that belief. It's shocking. This is why deconstruction from religion can be devastating. Devastating. Your entire worldview collapses when you accept the metaphysical proposition that maybe God doesn't exist. Devastating. But I must say that when we're talking about metaphysics, it is as harmful to claim the proposition, to attach yourself to the proposition that, well, we do not know, therefore it's useless to consider the possibility. So, what happens when we loosen our metaphysical beliefs? Well, first of all, we save ourselves from the risk of being harmed by the realization that, well, one of my metaphysical presuppositions might be wrong. If you don't base your entire worldview on a specific metaphysical proposition, perhaps you're more safe. There's also something very beautiful in loosening your metaphysical beliefs. What happens when you give the universe an opportunity to be anything fundamentally? A mystery arises. You stop claiming that you know everything. Instead, you start resting in the knowing that this is a mystery. And that mystery is spiritually potent. I call this the sublime. The most magical, wonderful, spiritually fulfilling thing about reality, from my perspective, is the mystery of existence. Is the fact that we have no idea what this is, and yet here we are. The next proposition is a moral proposition. Now, considering that it is entirely possible that morality is not grounded in anything, that there is no objective morality, that it is entirely possible that morality is entirely relative. That is a possibility, considering all the metaphysical possibilities. This is also a possibility. When you attach yourself to a moral belief, well, the results can be good. Let's say that you believe in the reduction of suffering and the maximization of pleasure, utilitarianism. It's pretty good. It's all right. Virtue ethics, developing yourself. That's all right. Kantian ethics. That's good. That's good too. The bigger problem arises when, what if you believe that it is morally wrong to be gay, and lo and behold, you're gay? Now, I'm not saying that any of these normative theories would actually be saying that being gay is wrong. Well, tell you what, some religions do, and a lot of people base their morality on religion rather than normative ethics. The reason why this is so low on the list is because, well, like the gay example, this is suffering that ends lives. So this is why when we loosen our moral propositions as well as all the rest, we might be able to avoid these sorts of situations. Perhaps through a cultivation of thinking through a more virtue ethics type approach. When you cultivate yourself to be loving and kind and all those things without thinking about moral propositions, this is right, this is wrong, there's still a good possibility that you'll be a decent person. That, I realize that's a controversial take, but I feel like intuitive moral decision making is fairly reliable. When it's uncertain, of course, normative ethics gives us good ground to clarify these things. But the idea that that one of these three is giving the absolute truth in morality, really? The last type of proposition that we have is self-referential. This is absolutely the most dangerous. I have alluded to self-referential talk in, let's say, the proposition that I like cake. It's a belief about the self, and the reason why preferential was so high up, because, or I mean, low on the list, is because it is sort of self-referential. The thing with self-referential propositions is that when you say that I am this, I am that, I am not this, I'm, when you say that, let's take an easy example. Let's say that you say that you are a scientist. That is a firm belief that you have, and that is a proposition that you attach to. You are a scientist. By God, you are a scientist, and everything that is included in being a scientist, that's what I am. So, consider that you have this belief, and then you have a near-death experience. By golly, what sort of crisis would you end up in? This aligns quite well, this example, with the metaphysical proposition example. So let's try something different. I am a loser. I am worthless. I am an idiot, a crazy person, and all the things that you may say about yourself, all the negative things. If you believe in those propositions wholeheartedly, well, you can imagine how happy your life may be with those beliefs. Even when you say that I am good, I am a moral, happy, perfect person, all of a sudden, you find yourself texting while driving, and you drive over a child. What sort of crisis would that cause? You're slowly starting to get my point. These propositions that we attach to can go two ways. They can either tell us something accurate about reality, or they may cause us to fall into suffering, even delusion. If you have let's say that you have an ungrounded proposition, this might be the worst one. The last type of proposition, the delusional proposition. the incorrect proposition that you attach yourself into with conviction. Let's say that you believe in the proposition that everybody in the world despises you. Terrible delusion, terrible consequence. Believe that everyone in the world loves you. The exact same problem. Expresses itself differently, but this is still the same issue. So, I ask, what happened to maybe? What happened to I don't know? What happened to maybe I'm wrong? There are a lot of propositions that I spew out in this video, and you might critique me by saying that, well, if I shouldn't believe in propositions, why should I believe you? And why are you, that is me, why am I believing in my propositions? I'm not. I'm holding them loosely. That's not to say that I'm attempting to approach truth. I am. But it is good to be epistemically humble. Not only for intellectual integrity, but for your own happiness. The last thing that I'm going to point out is that there's an interesting parallel between this sort of idea and Eastern philosophy and religion. In Taoism, Buddhism, and even in Hinduism, there is this idea of non-duality. And the separation, the seeming separation between ultimate truth and conventional truth. The thing that these traditions are trying to approach is ultimate truth. And since I'm talking about traditions of non-duality, these concepts the ultimate truth cannot be just true or false. Whether or not these traditions are onto something, I think it's worth studying that possibility, especially in our first-hand experience. What happens when, for a moment, we dissolve propositional thinking? We completely dissolve in a safe environment with your eyes closed. You dissolve your propositional thinking. You dissolve your beliefs. What happens? What is this non-dual truth that they're trying to find? Is there something there? And does this have an important role in that? Or does it still necessarily need the proposition that non-dual truth is real? And what other silent propositions would you still have to believe in to try and dive deeper into it? This is an interesting topic. And maybe there's a reason why this sort of non-dual thinking was interesting to them. Maybe it had something to do with the way that we suffer less when we don't attach to propositions. Oh, that peanut butter sandwich was hella good. Thank you for watching. See you next week.